So I would like to welcome you all here today. Today we are going to deliver our 7th Students' Conference, Significant Achievements in Science and Technology. So it's a celebration for us, and I would like to hand everything over to our moderator, Denis Zacharias. So let's begin to share knowledge and interesting scientific ideas. So, Denis.
Right, I am very pleased to be here, and today I will be your moderator, and I hope everyone will have their words and everyone can share something interesting with us, because I think that's the most important point of the conferences, is sharing knowledge and information. And so without further ado, let's just start with our great participants. Thanks for everyone for sharing their presentations and their thesis, and everyone who wasn't even allowed to participate or just publish their thesis. Big thanks to them as well, because they are making a big impact on the conference, and every bit of their contribution matters. So let's start with our first participant. Today it's Schlichter Olga, and her conference contribution is about directions of modern robotics development. It's a very important topic, so why don't you go ahead, Olga?
Hello, my name is Olga Schlichter, and today I'm going to tell you about directions of modern robotics development. I'm a student of Faculty of Chemical Technology. So let's start. Throughout its existence, humanity has evolved, introducing new technologies to build a comfortable life. For this purpose, robots were designed to help people perform monotonous or dangerous tasks, mainly in industrial areas. Scientific and technological progresses, the emergence of new technologies, the rapid development of robotics and artificial intelligence have made it possible to integrate intelligent robots into other areas of human life nowadays. Modern leading companies in the United States, Japan, South Korea, and Germany conduct research to integrate robots in such fields as agriculture, industry, logistics, unmanned vehicles, medicines, and astronautics. The development of high-tech intelligent equipment for production continues. These are new machines that not only perform repetitive tasks, but learn by imitation and interaction with people working together as partners. The UN estimates that the world's population will reach 10 billion by 2050, which will increase the demand for agricultural products. So now the demand for agricultural workers who directly help in farming to obtain a larger and higher quality crop has been cut, and robots can help to solve this problem. Furthermore, with the development of online commerce and the increasing turnover of goods, there was a need for the robotization of warehouses to monitor the movement of goods and deliver them to the user. Drones and unmanned civil and military vehicles are being developed at a rapid pace. To perform dangerous tasks to save lives, military robots are used. For the medical field, robots are being created to help doctors establish or confirm a patient's diagnosis, to perform complex surgical operations with greater accuracy, and exoskeletons and prostheses with robotic function are being developed. One more important area of the development of robotics in the space industry. Robotic surveillance system provided meteorological information, key data for monitoring and forecasting air pollution. Satellite communication systems and global navigation satellite systems are being designed. Artificial intelligence is currently being improved. Development of computer vision technology, development of tools for recognizing text, moving objects, and faces. However, robots with artificial intelligence should be limited by certain laws which they have to obey. Similar ideas were raised by many writers. For example, Isaac Asimov in his work I Am a Robot developed 3 laws. You can see them in this slide. The first law, a robot cannot harm a person or by its inaction allow a person to be harmed. The second law, a robot must obey human commands if these commands do not contradict the first law. The third law, a robot must take care of its safety as it does not contradict the first and second laws. In my opinion, Ukraine has great potential in the development and integration of robotics soon. The main areas can be introduction of unmanned vehicles, development of robotics in the military industry, use of robots in the medicines and the social sphere. You can see my list of literature in this slide. And thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you, Olga. Your presentation was really relevant and really interesting in that fact, because I think you'll all agree with me that modern robotics and artificial intelligence is very popular nowadays, and a lot of people are developing it. And actually, a lot of people and a lot of experts say that robots will take over most of the people's jobs soon enough, and we really should keep an eye on it to control the development, to make it help us, but to make robots not harm us, as you said in the first law, I believe it was. And anyone has any thoughts on it or any questions about robotics, because it's a really interesting point of discussion. All right, no one's got any questions. I'm wondering, because it's a very interesting topic. So I guess I'll ask you one, like, so Olga, why are you interested in modern robotics? So what is it in this topic that captivates you and that makes you really wonder what's our world gonna be like in 20 or 30 years with robots and artificial intelligence?
Okay, so I realized that robots are used in almost all spheres of our life, and chemistry is not exception, because I'm student in chemical technology faculty, and many chemical technologies require the work with toxic and radioactive substance, and robots can help science and industry workers to preserve their health. For example, in Japan and Germany, robots already perform such tasks, so the great for the use of this practice in Ukraine. The use in and agriculture, so in chemical technology and artificial intelligence, because it is important for Ukraine and many chemical technologists.
Yeah, I guess I'll agree with you on that one, that it's pretty important and many people should study it. All right, so thank you, Olga, for your presentation, and we're gonna go ahead and continue with our presentations. And the next up is Bykova Polina with her presentation on topic written exposure therapy for PTSD, which seems like a very interesting topic as well, because PTSD is a big problem, and it seems like Polina has come with a great solution for it. So go ahead.
Thank you for the word. I'm Polina Bykova, and I represent Heat and Power faculty, the Ptsd department. First of all, 4 letters, PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. It's a mental disorder that developed after a traumatic event or a shocking experience. For most of the people, fear is well known, and it's not something special. the fight or flight response is natural to protect your body and soul, and most people's recovery is natural, but despite this, still there are those who can continue to have problems with this experience and feel bad, feel fear when they're safe. And such behavior may be a symptom of PTSD. For example, people suffering from PTSD experience such symptoms as avoidance. They avoid all remind of the trauma and related thoughts and feelings. Arousal and reactivity, being easily frightened or feeling tense or being on edge. And also they're having troubles of sleeping and angry outbursts. Cognition and mood, they are having difficulties with remembering the main parts of the event and having negative thoughts about self or the world, distorted feelings, and loss of interest in enjoyable things. And also rare experience symptoms. It's flashbacks with possible physical symptoms, bad dreams, and frightening thoughts. Written exposure therapy, or VET, was developed by Denise M. Sloan and Brian P. Marks as a psychotherapy for PTSD, and in 2019, they published written exposure therapy for PTSD, a brief treatment approach for mental health professionals. How does it work? The thing is, a person who had trauma needs to write about the event that caused the trauma, and the therapist, on the other hand, must focus on the experience and not the event. It is said to be very effective as a cognitive processing therapy. Client undergoes 5 sessions, 30 minutes of continuous writing about trauma and no homework. It's important because some patients can have problems with it. It is hard to do sometimes. Also, the client doesn't need to worry about such things as grammar or spelling. Interventions are also used. At first, the person is asked to describe all the trauma. Then in a 4th or 5th session, there is choice of only one part and how it influences their view of life. Then the patient rates a subjective unit of distress on a scale from 0 to 100 before and after writing. The therapists need to just check the patient's engagement in the writing process, and only when patients go, written information can be read. The main questions for therapists are: did the patient focus on thoughts and feelings or only tell the facts? And if the patient focused on the target trauma or switched to another one, and how many details were written? Paula Demency, PhD and Director of Training and Education with the Center of Deployment Psychology at the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences in Maryland, said that despite the word manual being simple and quick to read, it was challenging for her to deliver the protocol of written exposure therapy and not to support patients in emotionally processing and cognitive restructuring trauma-related beliefs. But she also thinks that PET is rather benign and can be useful for patients with less severe PTSD symptoms. If that isn't enough, for example, it could be a step towards more dependent and intensive trauma-focused psychotherapy, such as prolonged exposure or cognitive processing therapy. And that's all.
All right. All right, so thank you so much for your presentation. It was really fun to listen to. And actually, PTSD is a very relevant topic because it takes a big chunk of human psychology to really understand what it is. And I think it's really fitting that you went after Olga, because Olga told us about artificial intelligence and psychology of robots, basically. And you have told us about psychology of humans and how to cure this mental disorder, because it's really important and there are many people suffering from it. So does anyone have any questions, or does anyone want to discuss some points that Polina mentioned? Okay, I guess I'll be the only one asking questions today, but it's not a big deal. So Polina, do you have anyone that you know that's suffering from PTSD, or maybe you've seen or heard or like know something about it, and what does it feel like?
Not really, and I'm glad that I haven't experienced it, or my friends or family don't experience it, but I decided to make a presentation on it because I'm interested in mental health and mental health problems, and as it is a recent research, I think it can be interesting and quite important to share.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's pretty important that we reflect on human mental issues and try to help people with mental disorders, and not only PTSD, but things like depression, schizophrenia, I don't know, bipolarity, and other issues that are really common amongst our society nowadays. And so thanks a lot for your presentation, and I'm really sure that someone can think of something important that they heard in your presentation, and will try to help other people with PTSD using methods that you also mentioned. So
Thank you.
thank you, Polina, and we're gonna go ahead to the next participant, and that's Cherняев Mikita with the topic Microcontrollers at the 20th Century Breakthrough in Electrical Engineering, which is also a pretty interesting topic, and no one can wait what you have in store, Mikita, so go ahead.
Hello everyone, I'm Nikita from Faculty of Electric Power Engineering and Automatics. I'd like to tell you about microcontrollers and their developments. A microcontroller is a special microcircuit designed to control various electronic devices. In fact, a microcontroller is a small PC that can perform 32 million operations per second, having the size of a human nail. This device is so multi-purpose that all modern electrical devices are built on its basis. The first microcontroller was designed in 1976, 5 years after the creation of the first microprocessor. It was an Intel chip called the 8048. Microcontrollers of this family were used in Odyssey game consoles, in keyboards of the first NBA PCs, and a number of other devices. In addition to the central processor, the chip contained 1 kilobit program memory, 64 bytes of data memory, 2 8-bit timers, a clock generator, and 27 ports. The next microcontroller, Intel 8051, released in 1980, has become a truly classic example of this class of devices. This 8-bit chip laid the foundation for a whole family of microcontrollers that dominated the market until recently. Analogs of 8051 were produced by Soviet enterprises in Minsk, Kiev, Moscow, and a whole generation of domestic developers grew up on them. The majority of microcontrollers manufacturers still produce devices based on this architecture. Among them are Atmel, Maxim, Philips, Dallas, OKI, and Siemens. Other outstanding representatives of 8-bit microcontrollers are products by Motorola, 68HC05, 08, 11, and Zilog Z8. For a long time, Motorola didn't provide the possibilities to start working with its controllers cheaply and quickly, which didn't contribute to their popularity among developers. However, Motorola microcontrollers occupy a leading position in the foreign market. In our country, their popularity isn't very high due to the lack of sufficient number of available training materials and development tools. What about Zilog microcontrollers founded by former Intel employees, microcontrollers from the company Zilog, which until recently seemed so promising, didn't survive the race in a rapidly developing market. And today, the Z8 instruction system looks quite outdated. The first significant changes occurred with the appearance of PIC controllers by Microchip. These chips were offered at record low prices, which allowed them to quickly capture a significant part of the microcontroller market. In addition, crystals from Microchip were better than other microcontrollers in performance and didn't require an expensive programmer. The real revolution in the world of microcontrollers took place in 1996, when Atmel introduced its family of chips based on the new progressive one. More developed AVR architecture performance, which was higher than of microchip controllers, as well as the attractive pricing policy, made the microcontrollers of this company number one. And today, the most common are STM32 microcontrollers of the ST microelectronic series. The 8-bit STM microcontrollers were released in 2008 and were positioned for tasks requiring high reliability with lower power consumption. They immediately became popular due to low price and a wide range of models. So thank you very much for attention. If you have any questions.
All right, thank you too, Nikita. It's actually very interesting to see what the technology has become over the years, and many people that study engineering and just are interested in technologies should sometimes look back what the technology was back then in the 20th century and try their best to compare what we have right now and what we might have in the future. So anyone's got any questions on the topic of microcontrollers? All right, it seems like I'm gonna ask you again, Nikita. So I'm really wondering, like, what do you think will happen with the microcontrollers in the future? And also just a little sub question maybe. Why do you think it's important to like know what has been in technology in the past, and why should you study what was like 30 or 40 years ago and just try to compare it with what we have now?
I think it is very important because every single modern device is based on microcontroller, and they're everywhere. Is the first reason, and the second one is microcontrollers just very interesting. I think in the future companies will reduce the size of microcontrollers and increase number operations and their power.
Yeah, all right. So I think that everyone can agree on that it's important, and technology will try to make everything more compact and as simple as possible, and also that can work as hard as the past technologies. All right, so thank you so much for your presentation, Nikita. We're gonna go right ahead for our next participant, and it is Shliaha Dmitro with his topic on prospective strategies to save energy by means of electric drive. So also a pretty relevant topic because energy is everywhere right now, and we should try our best to save it. So, Dmitro, go ahead.
So, hello everyone. My name is Dmitro Shlaga, and I am from Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Automatics. And my talk is devoted to the strategies for saving energy by means of electric drives. Let's start. As you can see on the first slide, there are more than 10,000 types of induction motors in the world, and more than 7 billion motors are produced. An interesting fact is that for almost 60 years, there have been no significant improvements in the design of electric drives. Also, induction motors are the main consumers of electrical energy. They consume almost half of all energy produced. In order to better understand how to save energy by means of the electric drive, we need to remember that modern electric drive systems has 5 functional basic components. They are mechanical loads, electrical motors, static converters, power sources, and controllers. The basic criteria for selecting an electric motor for a given application are as follows. The first thing that is taken into account is power or the required engine. The environmental factor is also taken into account. One of the main factors is the price factor and also the function of converters. The main methods for saving electric power in automated electric drives of technological units and complexes include the following. First method is using of regulated instead of unregulated electric drives. This will make it possible to establish optimal conditions for processing their substance when changing their operating modes of technological equipment and physical and mechanical properties of the processed substance. This method is the general direction of energy saving accepted all over the world and given the greatest effect both in terms of energy saving and in the other indications of technological process. The second method related to the correct choice of the electric motor by its capacity. Often the practice of selecting a motor with excessive power leads to a decrease in efficiency and power factor. The third method concerns the application of power modules of adjustable electric drives with maximum efficiency and power factor. The electric motors controlled by semiconductor converters are the main ones. Besides, the maximum possible elimination of power losses can be achieved by using break-in resistors. The next method is to use filter compensating devices in electric drive supply circuits in order to increase power factor and reduce influence of higher current harmonics. In addition, it is useful to decrease losses in motors and power supply networks by changing of breaking type in electric drives with frequent starts and braking. The problem of reactive power compensation traditionally attracts great attention, especially it took too much attention in domestic practice. The following method is devoted to reducing to a minimum the use of rheostat method of controlling the speed of electric motors. And the last but not least method is the elimination of starting and braking modes. This will ensure the combination of movements of the main mechanism in the technological process and further transfer them into continuous operation modes. The correct choice of the main electric equipment is the simplest but not popular way of energy saving method. Energy saving in relation to the simplest and controlled most mass electric drive consists in improving the motor selection procedure for a specific technological installation in order to comply with the nominal thermal motor mode during operation. It's clear that the motor of underpowered power quickly fails. The solution of the problem is not always elementary. Errors are frequent, and as there are millions of simple electric drives, great damage is possible. A significant effect in such cases can be achieved by simple replacement of equipment or introduction of automation systems, but the correct solution of such a problem requires rather high qualification of the personnel. So, taking everything into account, there are many strategies to save energy by means of the electric drive. All we need is to choose the optimal one and put it into practice. Thank you for attention, and if you have questions, I can answer them.
All right, thank you so much, Dmitry, for your presentation. It's a really relevant topic nowadays. for energy saving, and I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of questions asked, right? Okay, so I have a question regarding energy saving and this entire topic, and I want to ask you, Dmitry, why do you think saving energy is important, and also like what can we do to raise awareness of issue of energy consumption, and how can we convey this message to people so they can save more energy using the technologies you just mentioned?
The problem of energy saving is a very important theme nowadays, because the population of our planet grows constantly, and we need to save energy in order this energy will be enough for all people. But I don't know how to tell people that they should save energy, because it is quite difficult. Everyone think there will be nothing wrong with the electric system of my country if I will consume more energy, more and more, and until the energy system will fall, or there will be difficulties in energy system. No one will understand that it is important to save energy. So I think it is the one. It is one and the most simple way to understand that time to save energy has come.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dmitry. Thanks a lot again for your presentation. It's really interesting, and we should unfortunately just go ahead to the next participant, but thanks a lot anyways. Okay, so next up is Burlakov Yaroslav with his topic of practical use of fallen foliage in applied EU technologies. So also an interesting topic. So go ahead, Yaroslav.
Okay, hello, dear participants. Now I will show you my presentation. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, great. Hello, dear participants. I'm Yaroslav Burlakov, and today I want to address the question of the very existence of humanity, because there is a real threat of its destruction, isn't it? Remember, as a Greek writer Orlis said, when the last tree dries up and the last animal dies, you will realize that we have no other planet. All we like to feel a light breeze, enjoy the singing of birds. Everyone likes fresh air and clear water. But with such an attitude to the planet as now, we may very soon lose it all. If we want to preserve a healthy nation, then in any case we need to activate our environmental knowledge and apply it not only for theory, but also in practice. Personally, I have conducted research of the problem of disposal of fallen leaves. Often they just solder it, thereby causing a huge blow to the environment. Now more specifically about my research. The object of research is the park area of the city, and the subject of research, leaves of chestnut, leaf litter. Dates, vegetative period of trees. As a result of the work, a list of the most promising areas of the disposal of fallen leaves was found. The most popular of them are mushroom cultivation, seed germination and seedling cultivation, growing harm flowers, and insulation of ceilings. As about results, despite the fact that the use as a fertilizer or mulch is the main one, there are other ways to use a leaf litter. There are the most promising methods, and now let's analyze each of them in more details. The first method is mushroom cultivation. Most of the edible fungi that can be grown on various plant waste and remains belong to saprotrophs. They are organisms that feed on diet organic matter. For mushrooms, there is no difference in what to grow. The main thing is to have enough nutrients. The advantage of this method of disposal is high profitability. because even the wholesale cost of mushrooms rarely falls below the value of 100 hryvnia per 1 kilogram. This for production is such quantity of mushrooms, 3-5 kilograms of the fallen leaves are necessary. Second method, seed germination and seedling cultivation. The soil mixture based on deciduous humus has an ideal structure for seed germination: loose, filled with poly, and monosaccharides. It allows seeds and seedling to ground quickly for a transportable condition. A large amount of sugars and other nutrients leads to the fact that really for further planting seedling becomes stronger than those ground in plain. But fertilizer soil. Each garden or garden develops recipes from the soil mixture independently. But in any case, at least half of the mass is humus. The next method is growing sunflowers. Humus-based soil mixtures are well suited for growing houseplants. In most cases, such flowers are grown by people living far from fields and forests, where you can take a few liters of natural soil mixtures. For example, mixtures of soil with rotten plant and animal remains. And the last method is insulation of ceilings. Fallen leaves are a tolerable alternative to sawdust or glass wool, but the effect of this use for cell insulation appears only when the thickness of the compacted layer exceeds 20-30 centimeters. Even after compaction, such insulation is much easier than most analogies, and the ratio of weight efficiency has no equal at all. Finally, I want to mention that there are a lot of fallen leaves in parks. Some experts say that pests and pathogens winter is such leaves. Others insist that fallen leaves are available fertilizer and protect the soil from freezing. Still others simply burn the leaves, and I consider leaves as a variable resource. As a result of the work carried out, we have made following conclusions. Fallen leaves as an excellent organic fertilizer. With proper and rational use, fallen leaves can bring not only environmental better, but also increase the country's economy. This can be an opinion from one of the export products of the state. Therefore, we must benefit from what is under our feet. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Yaroslav. A very nice presentation on a very unusual topic, but interesting nonetheless. So I wanted to ask everyone if someone's got any questions, and if no one does, I will go ahead and ask you.
Yaroslav, as you seem interested in the topic of environment, maybe you can suggest some environmental associations where people who are interested too can find more information.
It's about ecological problem. Really, there are too much ecological friendly people. Okay, but now we can watch the situation when we have too much token and nothing else. If we have really good and people or group or people that can be work on this theme, of course it will be very cool. But now we have situation about which was talking a very famous girl, Greta Thunberg. She talked, you do only blah, blah, blah. Really, and we have ecological problem, but any man or woman knows that we must change it. Of course, we must change it, but only blah, blah, blah. We talk that we must change global warming, that we must change problem with air. Sorry. But and then what we have very bad situation with our environment, and it's very, very, very bad.
Okay, I guess everyone can agree with you here, Yaroslav. It's a very important topic, and a lot of people are just talking a lot of nonsense and not doing much about it. Okay, so thank you again for your presentation, and we're gonna go ahead to our next participant, and I already have stabilized my internet connection, so I guess I'll also turn on my video and try to say hi to you all again. So our next participant is Olshanska Violeta on topic global warming, which is also a very relevant topic on natural resources. And so Violeta, go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Violeta Olshanska. I am a student of Faculty of Chemical Technology, and today I'm going to talk about global warming. And first, it is important to know what global warming is, and global warming is an increase in average global temperature caused by releasing heat trapping gases. It occurs when harmful air pollutants, mainly carbon dioxide, are concentrated in the atmosphere and absorb thermal energy. The consequences of global warming are different. And glaciers melting, rising sea levels, extreme weather changes, raging wildfires, droughts, and powerful storms. Today, many scientists and medical organizations pay attention to this urgent problem. One of the things that makes an enormous contribution to global warming is the greenhouse effect. The discovery of it belongs to the Swedish chemist and physicist Arrhenius, who was also the winner of Nobel Prize. Usually, the Earth's surface absorbs incoming sunlight and solar radiation, and then bounces it back into space. However, scientists proved that certain gases that are also called greenhouse gases keep the energy in the atmosphere. The natural greenhouse effect makes the Earth's climate appropriate for living. Without it, the atmosphere would be minus 18 degrees Celsius instead of the normal 15 degrees Celsius. Nevertheless, the enormous concentration of greenhouse gases is responsible for heating our planet. You can also ask such questions as, are not temperature changes natural, and are there any other factors that are responsible for global warming? And the answer is yes. Greenhouse effect isn't the only factor that affects Earth's climate. There are such factors as volcanic eruptions, variation in solar radiation from sunspots, solar wind, the Earth's position, and many others. But climate models that scientists use to monitor Earth's temperatures take those factors into account. Changes in solar radiation levels, for instance, have contributed only about 2% to the recent warming effect. Some natural factors may play in warming, but their effects last just a few years. Let's take a look at the graph here. You can see from it that throughout the history of Earth, the amount of these gases could go up and down. However, it remained nearly the same for most of the time. For example, the level of carbon dioxide earlier was approximately 280 parts per million. In 2018, the average concentration of carbon dioxide increased to 409.8 parts per million. This amount is higher than any point for the last 800,000 years. In the 18th century, humanity made a big transition from creating goods by hand to using machines. This transition is also called the Industrial Revolution. People started to burn many fossil fuels like coal, oil, natural gas to produce energy and electricity. During the combustion of this compounds, water vapor, methane, ozone, carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, fluorocarbons, the most prevalent greenhouse gases, are produced in a large scale. Earlier emissions of greenhouse gases to the atmosphere have been balanced by greenhouse gases that are naturally absorbed. The rapid rise in greenhouse gases is a problem because it's changing the climate faster than some living things can adapt to. Also, a new and more unpredictable climate poses unique challenges to all life. Carbon dioxide enters the atmosphere through burning fossil fuels, solid waste, trees, and other biological materials, and also as a result of certain chemical reactions. One of the largest sources of carbon dioxide is also deforestation. It is a well-known fact that during the photosynthesis process, trees consume carbon dioxide and release oxygen. Carbon dioxide is removed from the atmosphere when it is absorbed by plants as part of this biological carbon cycle. After logging, large quantities of carbon dioxide are discharged. Methane is much less abundant than carbon dioxide, yet it is much more effective at trapping heat. Methane is emitted during the production and transport of coal, natural gas, and oil. However, it comes not only from natural gas, but also from livestock, agricultural activities, land use, and also by the decay of organic waste in solid waste landfills. The main companion of methane is nitrous oxide. Human activities such as agriculture, fuel combustion, waste management, and industrial processes are increasing the amount of nitrous oxide in the atmosphere. Ozone occurs both in the Earth's upper atmosphere and at ground level. Ozone can be good or bad depending on where it is found. Stratospheric ozone or good ozone occurs naturally in the upper atmosphere, where it forms a protective layer that shields us from the sun harmful violet rays. Ozone at ground level is a harmful air pollutant. Because of it, the effect of people and the environment, and the main ingredient is smoke. During the processes of combustion in transport and power station, ozone is emitted. This happens when pollutants emitted by cars, power plants, industrial boilers, chemical plants, and other sources chemically react in the presence of sunlight. Unlike many other greenhouse gases, fluorinated gases have no natural sources and only come from human-related activities. Fluorinated gases find their application for the most part as refrigerants, solvents, and powerful reagents in organic synthesis and chemistry. All these compounds can be in the atmosphere for a long time and have numerous impacts on it. They are predominantly produced due to industry factors. They are also closely related because releasing one greenhouse gases leads to releasing another. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you all for my attention.
Right, thank you, Violeta. A very interesting presentation on a very relevant topic, I think, because as you may know, a lot of people are complaining that global warming is only getting more dangerous and no one does anything to stop it. And you kind of provided what is it, how to solve it, and what is it about. So anyone's got any questions about it? I guess no one does. So I'm going to ask you, Violeta, a question about global warming. I think that it's a really big problem nowadays, and we can do something to stop it, but I've got two questions. Is what can we do to stop this global warming? Because as you may know, it's pretty dangerous to all the humans, all the living things, animals, plants, etc. And second of all, many people say that if we don't do anything, that even in 30 or 40 or 50 years, it's not that much time, but in that period of time, 50 years, it's gonna be so hot on Earth that like that much hotter on Earth that it's gonna be dangerous to not only plants and microorganisms, but to even bigger things such as animals and people. What do you think about it?
Well, I agree that yes, global warming is very dangerous, and we should put a lot of attention to this problem. I guess we should at first make we should make all that we can to reduce the producing of all the greenhouse gases, because there are because they are the main factors that influence global warming. And also we should talk about a lot. We should talk a lot about it so everyone can also know about the problem and do something with it.
Yeah, okay. I think I can agree with you there. And actually, we all need to do something, not only corporations, not only things that produce the gases that you've talked about, and all kinds of dangerous chemicals. But all of us people should try to stop the global warming and try to be more eco-friendly, as it's pretty trendy to be right now. Okay, so thanks a lot again, Violeta, for your presentation. We're gonna go ahead to the next participant, and it's actually our last participant, last but not least. Говорить Дмитро on his topic, the changing world of power, generation, and consumption. Another topic about power and energy consumption, and it's really interesting to hear what you have in store, Dmytro. So go ahead.
Oh, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dmytro Garis. I'm a student of the KPI Energy Saving and Energy Management Institute. I'd like to represent you my topic, the changing world of power generation and consumption. My speech will take 10 minutes and I will answer your question after my presentation. There will be 3 points in my presentation: the importance of electricity, famous people connected with electricity, and modern trends of electrical consumption in our changing world. So let's start. Okay. Take a moment to think about your morning routine. You wake up to an alarm clock, take a warm shower, make a cup of coffee, and fry an egg. When you get to work, you turn on the light to your office and turn on your computer to check your email. What do all these little moments have in common? Electricity. No one person invented electricity, but that is the result of the work of inventors, scientists, and researchers all over the world. In order to fully understand electricity in our modern world, one has to first understand the pioneers who date back to us early as the ancient Greek, and watch their work to harness the natural power of electricity and turn it into something useful to a person. Let's speak about Thales of Miletus, who lived in 6th century before Christ. He was the father of Western philosophy and one of the first persons to explain natural phenomena without reference to methodology, technically making him the world's first scientist too. He even invented mathematics. How cool is that? We know another person, Thomas Edison, who was a great inventor. He invented direct current and light bulbs. The third world-known person is Nikola Tesla. We have him to thank for alternative current, the modern electric motor, remote-controlled boats, and radar technology, and wireless communication. The energy system has transformed dramatic of science, the Industrial Revolution. Let's look at some objects. The world's largest nuclear power plant is located in Japan, in the city of Kashiwazaki. You can see its characteristic on the screen. The capacity of this largest station alone is almost twice the total capacity of all operating nuclear power plants in Czech Republic or India, and more than 4 times the capacity of nuclear power plants in Hungary. The second huge object is Belchatov thermal power plant. It is the largest thermal power plant on the Europe continent and generates about 22% of electricity and in Poland's electricity balance. Energy from Belchatov, it is cheapest electricity in the country. The third one is Three Gorges hydroelectric power plant located on China's longest Yangtze River. The hydropower plant provided a stable supply of electricity to China's provinces and cities, including Shanghai and Xinjiang. Now let's pay attention to the graphs. On these 5 charts, you could see how we consume coal, oil, natural gas, peat, hydropower, and alternative energy in different time. You can compare. Global energy consumption continues to grow. How much energy do countries across the world consume? Next slide shows us the interactive chart of energy consumption from 1998 to 2016. You can see here that energy consumption is going from year to year. We need to find new methods of generating electric power. Here, I'd like to focus your attention on one project. It is one of the future methods of electric power generation. It is International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor. You can see its characteristics on the screen. Many scientists are working on this project. It will give us more energy and it will not destroy our planet. Thank you for your attention.
All right, Dmitro, it was pretty interesting presentation. It was interesting to look at the graphs and see how gas even is more used now than it was before. And right now, the energy world is going further and further ahead. And it's very important to, even if not participate, then at least know about energy and what it's about and what stations and what power plants are there in the world, just for general knowledge, I guess. Okay, so anyone's got any question on the topic of energy? All right, so I guess no one still does have any questions, which is surprising, but okay, Dmitro, the same question to you probably as to Shlyaha, Dmitro, but still I'm curious to know your opinion. Why do you think it's important to know about power, energy, nuclear plants, and et cetera, Why do like regular people that don't work in this field or don't know anything about it should like be aware of the power saving sphere?
I think it's very important because our planet already have not very many resources, and we want to think about our future, and we won't consume many resources, and for my opinion, we need to find new methods of generate electric power, and scientists work with problem.
Yeah, okay, I got your message. I can agree with you here that a lot of people should really think about it in the end of the day. So thanks again, Dmitro, for your contribution to our conference. And you were actually the last participant. So if anyone's got any questions or any experience they'd like to share, because here we listen to a lot of interesting topics, a lot of different topics, I might add, because a lot of people talked about psychology, some about artificial intelligence. A lot of topics today were about energy saving, and like we all learned something today, something very interesting, something really relevant that is going on in the world right now, and something important, because like troubles of energy saving and global warming are actually something that we need to be aware of, and we need something to do about it. So if anyone's got any sort of message or questions or discussion, maybe someone has a favorite presentation of today, because I can choose of you all because I liked all of them, but maybe someone has their favorite conference of today.
I really like the presentation of Yaroslav. It was very interesting to hear.
Okay, so why Yaroslav? Like, do you find the topic of leaves and foliage and like soil, like energy of the land, you might even add that, why do you think that's interesting? Just curious to know your opinion.
I think it's a quite important topic to talk about. And also, I think Yaroslav was very charismatic and delivered his information very well.
Yeah, I can agree with you here. His presentation was really special in that regard. Okay, anyone else wants to share any experience? Maybe someone that didn't present a presentation today? Well, I didn't, but I already told you my opinion.
In my opinion, I like presentation Violetta because she talked about very important things, and she talked about statistic information, and I think it's very important when you talk about presentation.
Yeah, I also agree that Violetta's presentation was on an interesting topic, and she talked a lot of words that might not be familiar to the common folk, because if I recall correctly, that Violetta is a student on the chemical faculty, and she told us a lot about gases, a lot about different compounds, chemicals, etc. And if not going into much details, I think all of us can agree that the topic of global warming should be brought up, should be discussed, and should be taken care of, because as you may know, that many eco activists such as Greta Thunberg and the health organizations and the ecology ministers all over the world, they are like the #1 topic there is global warming, and no one really knows how to solve it, because the world is kind of leaning on all of those compounds, all of those gases, all of those chemicals. And it's either we are living the way we're living right now, and it's gonna get warmer and warmer eventually, or we're gonna do something about it, but it means cutting our power plants, our gases, our basically cutting our production. And so we're gonna make it different for global warming. We're gonna make it easier, but in the same time, we're getting rid of our production, and it might set us back in the development like 20 or 30 years even. And so both situations are really bad for our society. So I think that we need to be prepared.
Yeah.
Okay, so if anyone else has their like thoughts, experiences, questions, they might go ahead and share it. And if no one does, if anyone's satisfied, and if anyone is preparing for their next lessons or whatever, we can go ahead for our next steps, whatever they are.
So I suppose there are no more questions and no more other ideas to add. So Denise, your delivery is really magnificent. I'd like to note that. And so I would like to thank everybody for being here today and for being interested in science development. And I wish you new achievements and new heights of development and improvement. So
yeah, thank you. And also, if I might add some words like for the end of our conference, that all of those conferences, all of those symposiums, and all of those gatherings of young people that are interested in technologies, that are ambitious, that are smart, they try to achieve something in the world. I think that it's really up to the youth to change something in this world, because like in all respect to the older generation, like they are trying their best to change something, but it's really up to us students, to the young people that are ambitious, that try to make their mark, to really like do something in the robot technology, in chemical technology, in any scientific field. It's really important for us to gather up, and all of those conferences that just bring up some general knowledge, they also make a big impact in changing the world. It might seem like really naive, but the conference that we have today might change the world later.
Can only praise you and your words, but nothing else. So thanks so much. And I can only agree with your ideas. And yes, it's everything up to you. If you want to deliver your message, if you want to change this world, you can do it. You can just try it out. So trying something out is better than doing nothing. at all.
Sure is.
Okay, so thank you so much for being here today once again. And for today we can finish, I suppose. I'm really pleased with today's conference, and have a nice day. And probably see you next year.